Hello everyone and welcome to Around the Clock. This is our June 6th segment. I'm Mark Jewett.
And I'm Yolanda Greaves. Thank you for joining us and coming to find out what's going on in Ashland.
Excellent. Well, we have a very exciting show today. We're going to have our normal selectmen update, and we have two meetings to talk about.
Yes, we missed a meeting to talk about, so we got a lot of talking to do.
We have a special guest today is John Dudley, Chair of the Planning Board, and John's going to be talking about a variety of different projects that are going on around town. Some pretty straightforward, some controversial.
Yeah, and they're pretty busy, he said.
He's very busy.
It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say.
And then since we really haven't been here for almost a month now, we have quite a lot of activity on our Around the Clock, Around Town Tour segment. We're going to visit the Memorial Day event, beautiful event. That just came up. Ashland graduation, Ashland High School graduation. Pond Street Revitalization Committee had a meeting to have the folks around town come and see what they're doing. There was the annual Battle of the Bands at the high school. A little chilly, so they actually had to go inside this year.
That's too bad.
They usually have it outside.
Yep.
And then new to Ashland is Solar Flare, and they had their grand opening over on Pleasant Street. We'll have some highlights of that, as well as the Solar Challenge presentation that was at the community center. So quite a bit going on around town.
Lots going on and lots coming up.
And then we'll have our final comments. So stick with us, and we'll be right back with our Selectmen Update.
Not recognized, fire burning in your eyes, chaos that controlled my mind. Bias, he got on a plane, never to return again, always in my heart. This love has taken its toll on me. He said goodbye too many times before. His heart is breaking in front of me.
All right, welcome back to Around the Clock. Yolanda, we've got a couple of Board of Selectmen meetings to talk about. You got a long list there.
I do. We had two meetings. We had one on May 21st, and then we had one on June 4th. Our May 21st one was the day after the town election. Quiet town election, 211 people went out and voted, but that's because there was no contested races. So Steve Mitchell went back on Board of Selectmen, Lori Tosti went back on school committee. We do have a new member of the Planning Board, Vanessa Charles, because Dave Foster did step down. We want to thank Dave for all his years of service. I think he was on for at least 2 terms. So 10 years on the Planning Board.
Vanessa for stepping up too.
Yes, it was nice to see her come back. She had run last year. Dan Moki won, and so it was nice to have her come back and run again, so that was good. The library trustees were reappointed. Town moderator was reappointed. And I think was it. Maybe Board of Health.
Yes,
Board of Health reappointment.
I think it was one Board of Health reappointment.
So hopefully we can change that in the future.
220,
get more people.
wow.
211.
11.
Yeah, I know.
That must mean everybody's happy, right?
Either that, or I was talking to some seniors, and they're like, it was no contested race, so it's sometimes difficult for them to park at the high school. So they said, why go and deal with that? So hopefully in the future we can change that up. But at our Board of Selectmen meetings, we heard from back on the 21st, we did a recognition with Chief Davis and Chief Key for a young gentleman who was able to use some CPR training that he had gotten pretty quickly. And administering CPR to a teammate. And whereas Matthew was able to keep himself calm and focused while his coach called 911 to get additional help, and whereas Matthew's family, friends, and teammates should be extremely proud of what Matthew was able to do considering the difficult circumstances surrounding the situation, and whereas this group of people has gathered here today to express their profound appreciation to Matthew for being an inspiration and for putting his CPR skills into action when needed. Now therefore, we the selectmen of the town of Ashland do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 22nd, 2014 as Matthew Gross Day. We got a presentation by the Farmers Market, which opens on June 14th. Roberta Suhlman from Open Space and Recreation came and gave the first committee report. Congratulations to you for being the first one to get someone there, and the rest of us have our work cut out for us. And then Carl Hackinson from Land Stewardship Committee came forward requesting some funding for some maintenance that's going on up at the Warren Woods area. Mm-hmm. There were some new town appointments. Chris Messier from was brought on to DPW, and Robert Phillips, so filling some positions that have been empty, and some of the new work that the DPW is going to be covering with the transition from the Ashland Field Management Group to bringing the maintenance of the fields under the DPW and Eric Heidemann at the schools. We talked about some farmers market, the wineries that are going to be presenting and selling it at the farmers market. Yeah. We discussed more of our BAA grants, but that has pretty much wrapped up. And we got a regional fire update. Those meetings are still ongoing. And then at our last meeting on June 4th, we had Rob Scherer from the Lions Club. They have their annual triathlon coming up on Father's Day on June 15th. It always seems to draw a lot of people, and apparently people from a lot of areas. So good for them for that.
It's quite the course. They have the full triathlon, not the Ironman, but the
right.
full and they have a sprint triathlon, which
yes.
is half the distance. So they have a big crowd. You don't notice because it comes out of the back of the woods and through the back neighborhoods.
Right, unless you're on Chestnut Street at the right time, you see them exiting and entering and stuff.
Just another nice job by the Lions.
Yeah, and it's one of their major fundraisers for all the great work that they do here in town. Some of the other good news was Chief Davis came before us again about the Ashland Police Department, a substation opening up in Market Basket. So they were donated the space by the owners of the Market Basket Plaza, and Ed Berman got some inexpensive furniture to put in there, and we're getting some community help to paint it and get it up and running, and hopefully we'll having a celebration of that opening soon, just to sort of bring some more visibility of the police on that south side of town and along 126.
And just like correction, you said in Market Basket, they won't actually be in
the
produce
it's in the
aisle.
plaza.
They'll be in the plaza at the old Metro PCS store.
Yeah, so closer to the Ashland Ale House and yeah.
So give folks on that side of town a place to go in if they want to talk.
Right. It was good to hear, so that if something comes up and they need to talk to someone soon, they can go in there, and there'll be some volunteers as well as some auxiliary police.
I think that's timely. A lot of activity going on 126, a lot of activity planned. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the show. So it's good news.
Yep. And let's see, there was another new position, or a new sort of updated position. Diane Mortensen, who has been doing some part-time work in the Board of Selectmen office, has now been moved to the Board of Selectmen office, and she's going to be the finance and personnel assistant. So that was good, just reorganizing some things. We had Dave Manoogian come before us to talk about some of the summer road work, and there are some great projects that are hopefully coming soon. One of the ones that generated the most buzz was the sidewalks on 135, and from the high school to the community center. So, middle school to the community center. Mm-hmm. Old high school. So when I was up at the senior center having breakfast the other morning, a lot of them were very excited about that and felt it was a long overdue project. So.
That's good, because then we have events at the middle school, or the middle school fields. There's parking now that's connected.
Right, and it's
So
easy,
it's
because it's not that
treacherous.
far of a walk.
It's just
So if there's
treacherous.
if sidewalks, it's a lot safer.
Yeah.
Steve Greenberg came before us about the upcoming half marathon in October. This will be their third one. They keep tweaking things, making it a little bit easier for the community. But always, I guess they're looking for potentially 1,200 runners. They had over 700 last time, so good for them. And we talked a little bit about our upcoming summer schedule. We'll have 2 formal meetings, one in July, one in August, but we're also going to be out at the farmers market again. We don't have a schedule set, but hopefully a couple of Saturdays, one or a couple of us will be there to talk to people, you know, sort of informally find out how people see things are going on, or if they have issues that they want to present. They can go get their vegetables, listen to some music, and come have a conversation. And we're also going to be reaching out to all the other boards and committees in town to get them involved in what we're going to be calling the town tent.
That sort of leads us to our Ask the Clock segment. We actually have a question
We did.
this week, and it is sort of tied into the summertime period. And we got a question about water ban, and
Right.
whether or not Ashland will have a water ban this summer.
Well, you can never forecast these things. Right now, the reservoir is looking good. So there's no restriction, but we always have, not necessarily a water ban, but we have watering restrictions for year round, in that you can only water either on the odd or even day, depending on what side of the street you live on.
The number of your home. Yeah.
The number of your home. And no one can water on Mondays.
Monday, correct.
Right, so no one waters on Mondays, and then you odd and even either, you know, so Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So those are in place, and those are all the time.
And you can check the signs on entering town, which tells
Right,
you
if
who you
anything
are.
changes, right,
Or if
right.
anything
Or go to the
changes.
website and get
Right.
information there as well. But the reservoir is looking good right now. It'll depend on how much rain we keep getting.
Everybody's
through the
lawn looks
summer.
green right now.
Yes,
but
very
it's
nice
only
and
June,
good.
early June.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. All right, well, thanks for sending your questions. If you have a question, remember you can send it to ashlandaroundtheclock@gmail.com. We're happy to take your questions about what's going on around town, any rumor you hear, any suggestion you might have for a segment or format, and feel free to send us your comments. We'll be right back with our special guest today, John Dudley, Chair of the Ashland Planning Board.
Five, four, three, two, one. Action! Hi. That's a lot of water you're using. I know, and it costs a ton. My family helps save the environment and a little bit of money by using a water barrel.
What's a water barrel? We're here to talk to you about the water barrel. You put it under your downspout and it collects all the water when it rains.
It reduces the amount of water you use and lessens the impact on the environment. You can get these at the DPW in Ashland during the spring.
You can always save water by shutting off the water while brushing your teeth. You can even have a shower contest in your home to see who can take the fastest shower. You can even award a prize to the person who takes the shortest shower. How short can you make your shower?
Another way to save water while taking a shower is to change the shower head to a water-saving shower head.
This commercial was brought to you by WACA-TV.
And Girl Scout Troop 72378.
Okay, that's a wrap. We're all done.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Around the Clock. We are happy to have with us today John Dudley, Chair of the Ashland Planning Board. Welcome back, John.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and joining us and sort of giving us an update and the community an update on all the great things that the planning board is working on. So, first question is, what is the planning board working on right now?
What isn't the planning board working on? That's the real question, right? My first year in, there was a period of time where we had, I think, one meeting in almost 3 months, it was towards the holidays. And now I look at that is not the case now. We're usually trying to squeeze in more meetings and get just to stay on top of the workload, which has been very interesting. So we just had an election, had a new member, Vanessa Charles, so welcome if she is watching.
Nice.
And we have quite a bit going on. So we have, our next thing that is on the docket for next Thursday is we have a project, Needham Bank is looking for a site plan approval on, I believe this is at 40 Main or 41 Main?
I think it's 41
Guys
Main.
probably
The
Okay.
old Chris's
Chris's
Bar-
Barber
Chris's
Shop.
Barbershop. You got everybody
Right.
seems to know that across from
Yes.
Sunnysides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were, before the ZBA, working a special permit for a
Drive-through.
Mhm.
for the bank, and I think that's sort of the approach nowadays, to try and make sure you can get your special permits first before you go to the planning board with
Mhm.
your application. I believe that hearing is still open, they haven't closed that at the
Mhm.
ZBA yet, so what will be your process?
Our
It's
process.
next week, next?
Yeah, next Thursday. So if you know what the date is, obviously people know we can't discuss what we haven't seen yet. But as far as that goes, what you're seeing on projects like this is there's certain permitting authorities for different parts of the project. So they're going for a drive-through. So like you said, the ZBA is reviewing that as a special permit with a hearing. So you've had abutters that were notified, and at the same time, simultaneously coming before us for actual site plan. Can we use this? How big's the building? What about the parking? All these types of things. We have to look at it technically, and that's when, on the town side, so on the planning board side, we'll have engineers, traffic engineers, civil engineers look at the project, and then potentially shape it from there. So ours is usually a stricter process than, say, a special permit, where they're looking at it. Is it appropriate for the town? Is it appropriate for this location? Is it, there's no parking requirement in commercial downtown, but still, is it a negative impact in the neighborhood? And so that's the kind of thing they're looking for. And then when we review a site plan, we have a little stricter. We're looking at setbacks, just straight up requirements, the bylaw, as that goes.
So that's interesting, because I know that there's some feeling among some of the citizens in the town about what the usage for that facility should be, or that strip of land. And as I recall, I didn't get to go to the ZBA meeting, but I heard that there wasn't a big turnout. So if folks are interested in giving their opinion about whether they want to have another bank downtown, or they're more interested in seeing a town green developed in that area, is the planning board the right place to go to voice those opinions?
That's a great question, because it seems like the planning board's the meeting people like to go to, or it's either that or the selectmen. Although, in my opinion, I think it's a little too late by the time it gets to site plan. If people really want to be able to speak to the appropriateness and have more general authority, or purview, I should say, the ZBA is the meeting they should be going to. And because you've got a drive-through, and a lot of people in general are concerned in the way a drive-through
Traffic
goes.
way,
Yeah,
yeah.
traffic, is it dangerous? Where the car is going to go? Yes, maybe you meet the requirements, but what about during school time? What about during farmer's market?
Right.
What about, do you need to dig in and look a little more thoroughly as to, well, I know I have a traffic study that's 50 pages thick, but when was that data taken? Was
Right.
it on a Sunday morning? Was it during a farmer's market? Was it a midweek type thing? So I don't know. I mean, my thoughts I really would love to see more people show up for the ZBA. I mean, I think we're going to get a lot at the planning board. You never really know who's
Right.
going to show up.
Right.
And we'll often get accused of, well, you didn't do anything, and how come you didn't? And I keep trying to say, and I feel like a broken record sometimes, there's very specific things we can do when a project's in front of us. But please, if you're watching and you have something to say about this to the ZBA, go to that meeting. I think it's the 27th, that sound right?
Of June,
It's
yes.
the last
I think so.
Wednesday
Yeah.
in June.
So that actually brings up a good question in my mind, because we are hearing about people not happy with projects that are coming forward to the planning board at various stages. And do we know what is their real timeline, or when can they really give their input? Because on the planning board, you have to look at the rules and regulations and the zoning for a specific area. So unless something is really outside of the zoning, is there anything the planning board can do?
It's a good question, because I think I know what it feels like to be on both sides of this, and you guys probably do too, because it really a lot of times depends on whether people want or don't want a project, as to how a resident's going to feel, period. You know, they're going to come in the meeting and they're going to feel like it's falling on deaf ears half the time. Well, you're not listening to what I'm saying is I don't want this, and you need to stop this. And I'm like, it's not, you can't just do that. And I want people to understand, we would gladly, support if it was you owning the property, which I think everybody should try to look at anything that's getting developed as maybe that's them, and we're going to protect your rights too, the same way. And try to look at it fairly and evenly. And so it really goes way back. I mean, if people really want to see an area developed a certain way or not developed a certain way, they've got to get involved in how it's zoned, in the actual zoning bylaw. And some of the stuff we were doing with the zoning review committees, we were trying to pull things from recent cases or from the town planner or consultants and best practices, and we were saying, hey, we got a few issues, a few flaws in our zoning. Let's bring it up to the public. So most of it was well received. We definitely got a lot of things through, but you saw sometimes there's just natural skepticism. Well, why are you trying to do this now? Why are you trying to, like, someone's going to sneak a project in? And but that's what it looks like. So one part would be, I think, if I was going to say, how can somebody effectively do this today with maybe maximum benefit, minimal effort, because maybe that's what it boils down to, because everyone's limited on time. They could probably tap into the comprehensive plan. I know that you're on the committee. Some of the hearings and charrettes and discussions you guys are going to have is, what do you think about this neighborhood and that neighborhood? And I think that's a great way for people to voice what they want and what they don't want. If there's truly, I think another thing, they should be getting heavily involved with the ARA, the Downtown Collaborative, for sure. I mean, with the things that are going on with 126, that's important too. I think there's going to be some zoning things that come out of that affect the way we approach that. But beyond that, and you come into meetings, you can voice opinions and concerns, and I'm usually listening with an ear of, all right, can we do that? Can we condition that? What can we do about that? Is there more than just one person voicing that? You can try to energize some of your neighbors to come in and try to present well-thought arguments, because as you know, we have like a quick little nugget of time when someone's in front of us, and we're trying to determine, all right, is there anything we can do here, or is this person just ripping mad?
So to that point, though, there's a property on Main Street now that you guys made a ruling, and now that's been appealed. How does that process work?
Things like that are it's frustrating for me to see, because, and not just in general, because of, hey, people probably think we're all emotionally attached to these projects, and I can say for myself, I don't get that emotionally attached to a lot of these projects. I'm just trying to do the regulating thing as it comes in and be fair and open-minded when they come in, and then there you go. Because you see enough of them and you can detach from them. I can completely understand how a neighbor is emotionally attached to something. It's their life. It's everything around them.
It's their yard. It could affect them somehow.
It's the same thing, but we're trying to look at the big picture related to that. Of course, look at the law and follow the law. This one was particularly frustrating, I think, because we had multiple discussions on it. They don't call it site plan public hearings, but I was going to say hearings. And it was spotty. I mean, we get some people come in, and definitely there were some residents coming, but there's additional people that don't want to take the time to come to meetings, but they want to spread disinformation through the internet. I'm getting these email chains sent to me. I'm looking at this going, why don't you come to the meetings and at least discuss that publicly?
Or at least come and ask the questions or email the question to get real information.
And then, of course, sometimes you have disagreement among board members. Sometimes you have board members that don't understand the law, and it leads people down a path where they feel like, as a neighbor, they've been wronged somehow. Like somehow you did something to hurt them. It's the last thing I can say. You guys are on board. It's the last thing you want to do. And so I think this one was frustrating because all the time and effort that was taken, the additional expense related to a lot of engineering studies and what we were having our peer review check there. We had an attorney in there that, of course, we got the applicant to pay for, no charge to the town, but that attorney was there for us. It was town council. And in the end, we were having people putting pressure on us to try to break the law and go against what the law says to protect their rights and somehow deny them somehow. And I'm looking at them, you can't ask me to do that. I mean, you guys, I'm not going to be bullied into breaking the law. So we ended up, it was approved, and there was obviously some specific conditions to it. And then, as residents always have the right to do for a short period of time after, they decided to appeal. And then there's an appeal process that goes to court. Essentially, it's going to cost the town, I mean, anywhere from, we were guesstimating about $20,000 to $40,000 just because people wanted to sue and I mean, essentially, it's a lawsuit and appeal. And the way
Right.
you guys know, you get the little notice in the mail that
Yeah.
says you're being sued.
Yeah.
And
Fortunately, we haven't had any of those in a while.
you haven't?
so
Well, you should join the planning board. So we get about 2 a year. It's frustrating because I can understand, and I definitely would say it's a good process to be able to appeal things for sure, because you want
Right.
to make sure the boards are on the up and up. But I think people that are leading residents into feeling like this should be really careful, because it's not fair for me to ask other residents in town, hey, guess what? We got to do $40,000 to appeal to defend this appeal,
Right.
even though you could argue this is complete nonsense, and they think
Right.
they're killing a deal, which it's not. It doesn't help anyone.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
All right, so on the upside, those are a couple.
What are some of the positive things that are
Yeah,
going
positive
on?
thing?
And
a couple of positive projects going on.
Well, it depends. Again, every positive has negatives. It depends on who it is. But LCB Living, which is a pretty high-end assisted living facility, put together, in my opinion, a beautiful-looking building, brick facade. If you're facing Shaw's to your left, you got TD Bank. To the left of that, there's a couple of pad sites, I think,
Yeah.
in Faffordham. So they put together a plan that was approved. There's potential they're going to do something. So you got.
Nice.
And I don't remember how many beds it was, but it was decent sized, nice looking building. The old Subway shop there, not Subway, but
Marathon. Up
Deli. You
on
got it.
135.
Yeah.
You got 135 towards Hopkinton. That came back in front of us, got modification to the site plan, and a nice looking building too. They made some architectural upgrades, kind of made it a little smaller, so that the owner could get the funding to move forward. We'll
And that's
see if
supposed
that,
to be a nursing home complex?
you got it. That's a nursing home, and of course, one of the things we pushed for was not to have one of these multi-phase projects where the commercial might come in someday in the front. And as part of this, we conditioned it where the owner has to clean up the front, and it can go natural, but at least grade it out to match the
Right.
grading, so it's not.
So will they take down that building?
You got
that's
to take
there?
down the
Uh-huh.
building. That was part of the deal. Whereas I think one of the mistakes that was made years ago on Chestnut Street was, as you can see, that commercial, or whatever you want to call that,
Right.
and then of course all the construction vehicles. We pushed the construction vehicles to the back in this project.
Good.
Mhm.
So that was something.
And when will they break ground, do you know?
That's a great question. I don't know. Once they get these, they get to deal with the building permit,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
your guess is as good as mine, but it could happen soon.
Good.
So that's another one. You saw a Dairy Queen. I think they just opened.
They opened last night, or they opened
they?
yesterday, I heard. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
they just went live with a building, and I heard there's a butcher going in there too.
Are there three
Oh.
other units there?
It looks like
Three other or two other?
I don't know how they'll subdivide it. It looks
Yeah.
like three.
There's
but-
either, it's either three total or there's three more, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought there was three. I went past the road. I always
you're
drive
right.
past Butterfield
Yeah.
coming over here.
Yeah.
And I had saw the sign the other day when I went to Market Basket that they were opening yesterday. And then
Yeah.
when I'm coming back, you can tell now where they are. At
Right.
first it looked, wow, that's all going to be theirs. No. And I think it's three more
Mm-hmm.
commercial units in there. So that's a beautiful building. They did a nice job on that. And they
Yeah.
put that up quick.
Yeah.
And of course, the Dunkin' Donuts, they're now moving
Oh,
the ground
yes.
around.
Breaking
How could I
ground,
forget that?
yeah.
How could I forget that? Yeah. That's going in, again, with no access to Route 126. That was a key intersection. So one of the things I loved seeing about their presentation from the engineer for 126 was that they were going to attempt to line up the roads and put a light there.
Yes.
Oh,
for
encouraging
the
was that.
In
126
one of the,
project,
in,
yes,
yeah,
I
in the
did see that.
126 project, in the presentation, there was the two presentations, and in the second one, what they call the district mode, they were gonna look to adjust Algonquin so that you could go across. Because there's almost enough traffic to warrant a light there, and I think a lot of the residents coming out of Algonquin felt that that would be a good thing.
Of course.
It's huge.
Of course.
Yeah.
I also heard that Shadow Creek, Myrtle Street, Shadow Creek, the 55 plus, actually had a unit go live for sale, and they're seeking an occupancy permit. Isn't that something else? I mean, that's
Wait
been
a second,
contention.
hasn't that been there for a while?
It's a
Yes.
7 or 8 years,
Right.
but they didn't have
Yeah.
one occupancy permit.
Oh.
No, yeah, exactly.
They had a
Which is good. I
pricing
mean,
structure for a while that was not.
Yeah, but you would think they would have at least had their occupancy permits.
no, because the
in
reason they
place.
didn't do that, again, my opinion, but I think Joe said it on camera, Joe Duggan, their project manager, was that the minute they do that, it's no longer counted as one parcel of lower taxed land. It now is got to get divvied up, so it's going to be much higher tax. Which I guess I would say in general, it's good news
Yeah.
for the town to see
Yeah,
a project
if we
moving in that
can-
direction.
yeah.
Supposedly they got another unit under agreement, which I thought was
Well, good for them.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
think
been there,
people
it's
will
been
be-
there a while, and
That's good news, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
yeah. More tax dollars, new growth, always a good thing.
Yeah.
And there's another project on 135 just shy
Just before the
of
Hopkinton line.
the Hopkinton line and
Ashland
TJ's.
Woods, I think
Yeah.
it's a 40B, so it doesn't really hit us much. Actually, we did see it though. We had to approve a couple of things on there. Feels like that was a while ago. It was probably
And-
last year.
And isn't there something on the Valentine property going on?
Also a 40B.
Also
so, yeah,
a
they
40B.
didn't
But
touch
that
us yet.
hasn't presented formally yet.
Yeah, not yet.
It hasn't, all right.
No. I mean, we saw a presentation because they
Some
came to
time
us
ago,
first, I want to say last fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to do some stuff with the Mass Department of Housing
Mhm.
and waiting for some of those approvals. And I think once they have some of those approvals, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll probably be looking to get on your calendar.
We had a small subdivision extension in, it was Hickey, his development, Rosewood. Is it Rosewood? No, Richmond.
I don't know.
Richmond, there you
Richmond,
go.
Richmond, yeah.
And so we finished off one of the cul-de-sacs, at least is getting approved for it. And in the process, some of the negotiations were to get, we heard from some of the residents there, and they wanted those construction equipment vehicles off the front mouth of the road, because that's where the kids pick up the school bus. And so we were able to negotiate moving that stuff back, getting it
Oh,
off, getting
good.
that site cleaned out. And the project, I think he sold them, so he's doing a great job with.
Yeah, that whole thing is full
It's
now.
a nice
Looks
area.
like that,
It's
the one that
moving.
was on the
Market's moving.
corner of
Yeah.
High Street Extension, where
Yeah.
the trailer was, is now gone, they're building a unit. And who's building the units on Whittemore? There's 5 or 6 homes going on
I
Whittemore now.
don't know. That's a good question. Don't know.
Those signs are up now.
Yeah.
So it's busy around town.
Yes.
And do you guys hear anything about the rail transit district? Is that on the
only
horizon
thing,
for you?
The only thing that
or-
I know is that also on our agenda, I think it's for next meeting.
Next meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're seeking an extension.
Right, because, yeah, I actually have a little bit of information. So the property is owned by Gaynor, but the original site plan that was approved was given to the developer.
Mhm.
So the property owner is looking for the extension, but also to have the site plan assigned to him until
gonna be a new
everything's, because it's a new developer. Because the original developer from '08 or '09, I mean, it's been quite a while.
Went out, yeah.
Yeah, so they're coming before you for that extension and
Well,
reassignment.
do you think that'll end up being somewhat contentious? Because that's a big development. That could be seen as a traffic issue,
Yeah.
right?
I never know. It's anything that scale is always contentious, but I never know who'll show up. I mean, you just don't know.
I mean, that
until you're
property
out.
has had some very interesting town meetings over the past 10 years.
But it's also, the rail transit district is tied into the mass, the $6 billion
big-
mass
the
grant we
big
got.
award, that's right.
So, to improve the road and turn it into a real road and do some sewage work on 135 and things like that, so.
It's a huge
Yeah.
opportunity for the
That's
So
it.
town.
you guys are busy.
Yes, yes, we have no shortage of things to do. At the same time, we're trying to get a new member educated and
Mm-hmm.
have additional hearings related to that. And usually we can get different consultants to come in. We have somebody coming in. It's going to get announced in the next couple of days, couple Tuesdays away.
Mm-hmm.
Where Nat met somebody at one of the architectural colleges. I think they're going to send somebody in on
Good.
making Ashland I think exercise friendly. And we have a ton of trails and parks, and
Right.
it's one of the things that's great about Ashland.
And maybe some
Mm-hmm.
new bike lanes soon.
Maybe do bike
Yeah.
lanes. Yeah, I mean, as part of that project I was talking about off Cross Street there, there was some connection to some of the trails that was negotiated in
Oh,
to
good.
the project, which is kind of neat. I guess the Boy Scouts have some huge trails
Yeah,
back
and
there
that's
they
nice,
helped out.
because
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's trails and
Yes.
places that go up there versus, we had talked earlier about, could you actually put a bike lane in this 126 project, which I like to say, and I'll say it's me saying this so that I don't indict any of my dear members or your
You're all
members.
alone here.
But, 126, bike lane to nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and I struggle with that because I don't want, and I understand that folks want to bike, but there are other places in town where you can bike, and if the bike lane becomes an issue for this 126 project to such that it slows it down or makes the state think twice about paying the appropriate money, why would we allow that to happen? So I think this is something, that's why I always encourage other people to come out to the meetings,
Right.
because sometimes the small minority or the loud minority or the loud vocal minority can not necessarily have the best thing happen for the town. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, we appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
I had one last question.
Yeah.
We sort of back off a little bit in the summer. Maybe we just have one meeting a month and just clean up business. You guys are looking like you might be full bore all
I
through
figure,
the summer.
yeah, I'll probably take one Thursday off. I'm just kidding. I don't know. We'll see what comes in front of us. The way I look at it is usually we have a ticking clock when an application comes in.
Right. You have
Most of these site
timelines
plans
that
are
you have to
120
meet.
days. And so we'll typically try to move things through and keep them on track. That way it's more transparent. I don't see it slowing down from what I've seen. And I think we're going to go in a period where Ashland's pretty hot right now. You guys probably notice.
Yeah.
I mean, even people that have had like sleeper property are starting to do something with it. And I think what you're seeing too is a lot of the real estate market is everything.
Right.
If it's priced accordingly, it moves.
Well,
quickly.
it's interesting because on Prospect Street, there was a house on the market for probably 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it finally sold. And then just recently, I saw another house on the market, and it was on the market and sold before I even realized it was on the market. I mean, so as you said, priced appropriately,
Fast.
has things that people want. And, yeah.
Multiple offer.
Yeah.
If you look at the north of $500,000 market in this town, those
Mm-hmm.
houses are all popping under 30 days. Asking price or more. It's crazy.
Right.
I'll just say one more thing if you don't mind.
No.
I think the big thing that's going to start coming up in the next, hopefully by fall meeting, town meeting, is the question I'm going to throw out there is how serious is Ashland about a town green?
Right.
And are people really willing to put some time, effort, and money, and focus, instead of doing the whole shotgun thing and we're going to have 10, 20 different things going on at once, are we really willing to pick, which statistically is proven again and again in the focus groups and all the different studies we've had
Right.
over the years, is probably the #1 project for the town is a town green. And what I'm going to throw out there just as a question is just how serious is Ashland about that? So we'll find out when we start having some of these meetings. The ARA, the Downtown Collaborative is going to start really going after this, and if people are serious about it, you're going to need their support. They're going to show up and vote
Show
for
up
things.
at the CBA meeting in a couple of weeks.
That's one example. Another example is going to be some of the ARA meetings. If this comes before the CPC, how serious are people about supporting this at town meeting? Or for funding and different things, and some of the things that are going to have to happen, like, that just naturally there's going to be a lot of work there. So, yeah.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming on board. You have the busiest board in town, so we're happy to have you come and tell us what's going on.
And congratulations on being appointed chair again for another
Thank
year.
you, thank you. Hopefully I can do a good job and keep it moving.
Good, and welcome to Vanessa.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll be
Thank you.
we'll be right back with our around the clock, around the town tour. Stick with us.
Hey, 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 we're going to the market today.
Shots when they wanna chill. Hit me up when your cockiness wins. And enough of that from Big Bill Twin Bill.
Hi, and welcome back to Around the Clock. It's time for our Around Town tour. Quite a bit of activity going on. And leading off was the Memorial Day celebration over at the Wildwood Cemetery. It was very well done, I have to say.
Well done and well attended. It was
Yes, a
very
big
nice to
crowd.
see everybody.
Yeah, they had opening prayer by Reverend Richard Hurst from the Lutheran Church of Framingham. Then the national anthem was sung by Carol Cassidy, who's the president of the American Legion Auxiliary. And then Ashland Girl Scout Emily Dunn read Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and our own town manager, Anthony Schiavi, U.S. Brigadier General from the Air Force, was the guest speaker, and I have to say, it was just a fabulous speech. I mean, he's awesome.
He's a great speaker, and he just brings in so many different aspects into the speech that many people can relate to and just and enjoy. So it was good.
The proud parents who instilled in their sons and daughters the values that led them to serve. Excuse me, the remarkable spouses who gave our nation the person that they cherish most in this world, and beautiful children who will grow up remembering with the knowledge that their mother or father embodied the true meaning of patriotism. To those that we lost, we owe a profound debt which we cannot fully repay. But we can honor our fallen by caring for their loved ones and keeping faith with our veterans and their brothers and sisters still serving in arms. This Memorial Day, as we near in more than a decade of war, let us never forget their service and always be worthy of the sacrifices that they made in our name.
From the Wildwood, the group paraded down to Gordon Green Square in downtown Ashland. Nice little parade down the hill around the corner. And then we had another opening prayer by Pam Dunham, the deacon of the Ashland Federated Church. And the Ashland Boy Scout Ben Barrett read General Logan's orders. And then the guest speaker was Christopher Hart. He's from the American Legion Post 77. Also speaking was Shelley LeCoux, the VFW president of the Ashland Memorial Auxiliary 2331. So it was a very nice event. Special thanks go out to Steve Mitchell providing the sound system used in this year's observance. And a thank you also to the Ashland Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts who helped place the flags along the Wildwood Cemetery each year, and they were out in full force. It was very nice.
Yeah, it was very nice to see them all there and being part of the ceremony and getting to an understanding of what Memorial Day really means.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And then you had the opportunity to attend the Ashland High School graduation.
Yeah, graduation is always a fun thing, and so congratulations to the class of 2014. Graduation was held on June 1st, a class of 185, I think it was. So not one of our bigger classes, but as I was talking to someone about it, I said, yeah, this is the class that when they changed the date, this was the first class that was January 1st to September 1st, so they had to be 5 by that date. Valedictorian was Albert Wang, and he gave a great speech talking about the 5 laws of physics and how it related to the class and how they worked together, which was nice. The salutatorian was Yariana Diaz. Again, you could tell she really put her personality into it, and the class really appreciated that. The commencement speaker was Jessica McGuire, who is an English teacher up at the high school. And she said of the students sitting there, she had had the majority of them in a class or in a study hall, so she really knew them, and she was honored to be asked to speak, and she gave a very nice speech. And we gave out our very first Ashland Selectman scholarships to Sarah Chaplowski and then Aniswar, and I have tried saying his name, but I will not try it today, but it was great for them to be our first scholarship recipients. And as always, there's always great music at the graduation, and this year they invited Carly Peterson and Taylor Carson, 2 of the graduating seniors, to perform. And it was just a nice day, done very well, so congratulations to the class and to Mr. Adams and all the advisors and support staff that make it happen.
A lot to be proud of.
Very, very much to be proud of.
All right, and then off you were to Pond Street Revitalization
Yes,
Show.
we had the great turnout by so many people to give some feedback. They presented 2 different plans. So back in March, they had a big working group where people could come and say what they thought would be good and what they liked. And from that feedback, the design firm created 2 possible scenarios. So they had what they called their corridor plan and their district and nodes plan. Corridor plan, they tried to have pretty much the same sidewalks and bike lane and roadway from Framingham all the way to Holliston on Route 126. In the district and nodes format, they were looking at, okay, this is more of a residential area. Can we make it a little bit different? This is more of a commercial. This is a village. And so they had different scenarios, and they sort of tweaked a little bit. Okay, so the next steps, after this feedback, they're now going to go to design 1 plan, so with the input from everybody. Then it'll go to the engineering company. They'll be coming back again to the public to say, okay, this was the decision that was made based on your feedback. And then they'll come back to the public again just to say, okay, not so much to get more feedback, but to say, this is what we think we heard. And then it'll go to the Mass Department of Transportation, and with the engineering done, then hopefully we'll get on the list, and
hopefully we'll get some
5
cash
to 7
for
years,
on the list, right?
we'll get the roadway done.
Yeah,
So
all
it's
done.
still a process, but hopefully it'll happen soon.
Excellent. A lot of exciting things going on.
Yep.
126 already.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
All right, well, we're going to swing a little bit towards our arts and entertainment section of our tour. And the annual Battle of the Bands was held over at the Ashland High School recently. And unfortunately, due to the unusually chilly temperatures, the folks had to move inside. They always do it in the green over there, but they were unable to do that this year. But it was very exciting, an eclectic mix of music featuring everything from solo guitar players to rap artists to good old rock and roll. And we're happy to give a shout out to Jared Sano and Keith Palmieri, this year's winners of the Battle of the Bands.
Congratulations to them. moving out of sort of our arts and entertainment, we can go to business
Business, yes.
and
So
talk about Solar Flare that's new to Ashland.
that's right. So new to Ashland is a Solar Flare, a solar panel company. They've opened up shop on Pleasant Street, filling an open factory there, and they're doing quite well. I see their trucks all around town, and they had a grand opening. So they invited the public and the town officials to come down. They have a very nice event highlighting sort of their processes and how they install solar products in your home. And a little further on with that is there was actually what was called Solar Challenge, Solar 101, a presentation given at the community center. So community folks could go and see what solar is about and how that might be utilized in your home. And there's actually an offer from Solar Flare to help people put solar into their homes at a fairly reasonable price. So
Right. And the Solar Challenge works with our Sustainability Committee to talk about how can we get more people doing solar to help our community with our green funds grants and things like that.
And we hope to have Tricia Kendall on our next show to talk about that. So
Yeah.
she's the chair of the Sustainability Committee. So all that's been going on. What's coming up?
There's actually a lot coming up. People think it's the summer, it quiets down. Farmers Market starts June 14th. Kickoff is that day at 10 o'clock. They'll be ringing the bell for the first time. And some music and great events. And we also have our summer concert series that starts end of June. I guess there's a great Beatles band that's coming.
Tuesdays, right?
Yep, Tuesday nights is
Stone
the
Park.
summer concert at Stone Park. And then last day of school is June 19th. They're not going as late as I had thought, so.
They never do.
Well, in
They
regards
got
to
a lot of
all,
learning crammed into a show.
Yeah, they had a lot of snow days and stuff this year, so it was a little bit different. But as people are starting to plan for their summer and what to do with the kids, here at WACA, there is a video camp. There's 2 camps offered. One is, they're both at the end of July. The first one is July 21st through the 25th, and that's for 10 to 13-year-olds who maybe like a camera, they like videotaping their friends, making up stories. They can come and learn about videoing and video editing and how to create content for TV. And then the second program is July 28th through August 1st, and that's for students 14 to 16 who are in grades 9 and 10. And you know, it's open registration. You can come to the website or send the information to WACA-TV, 200 Butterfield Drive here in Ashland. And they look to, you know, get kids involved and understand about how to video. And I would think that if they're doing that, they might then be used for videotaping at the high school. I mean, we're always seeing kids.
No, it's a great
Taping
program,
events.
and it's a very easy transition to start doing work here at the studio, this
Right.
beautiful new studio
Yes.
with some pretty nice equipment. And it's a great hobby / some knowledge for the kids to have as they grow up and go to school. And
Right.
could work out
point
to
them
be a
into a
part-time
career.
job
Who
or a
knows?
career,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, contact the station
Okay.
about that. I wish they'd let me go, but they told me I'm too old.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh well.
So, I hope you enjoyed our Around the Clock tour and all the activity that's been going on and coming up. We're going to be back in just a minute with our final comments. Stay with us.
Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning, even when I'm losing, winning. 'Cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh.
All right, so welcome back to Around the Clock. We're about to wrap it up here with our final comments. Yolanda?
Sure. I want to thank John Dudley for coming on and filling us in on what's going on in the planning board. They've been very busy, and as he said, you know, get involved, go to the meetings, find out what's going on, and give your input, because it really is the town of Ashland and the citizens of Ashland that have to help us make these decisions. Just to let people know, Board of Selectmen is having a little bit lighter schedule. We have our meeting on June 18th, but then we'll only be doing one in July and one in August. So our July meeting is July 9th, and our August meeting is August 6th, and then back to regular schedule in September. So thanks for watching, and I know, Mark, you have a couple of parting words for our audience.
Well, you know, we did talk about the town election, the fact that was a light turnout, and I like to think that that's a sign of folks being sort of happy with the direction that the town's going, and we'll take it for that. But it is important to exercise your rights and get out there and vote, even if there aren't a lot of choices. But,
Right.
but I did want to touch on something that Mr. Dudley had talked about, and that's the town green and the developments going on or planning to be going on downtown. Certainly there's a lot of activity going on 126. It's been well marketed. There's been a ton of people come out and give their input as to how they'd like to see 126 develop moving forward. Well, downtown, there's quite a bit of activity going on with the Downtown Collaborative Group and the ARA and the Town Hall, trying to determine what the face of downtown is going to be moving to the future. There's a lot of development around town. It's time to really sort of coalesce what downtown's going to look like for the neighborhoods around town. And unfortunately, there's not been a lot of input in that process. And upcoming the end of July, I think we said July 26th is the ZBA meeting, where the ZBA is going to look at possibly granting a drive-through window to the Needham Bank, who want to basically take over Chris's barbershop building and put a bank there. That's possibly a good idea, but it's possibly not such a good idea if the town wants to have a town green and sort of incorporate a downtown landscape where people could come, visit businesses, do other things. So my comment really is about it's time for folks around town to come out and give their opinion about what sort of the final phase of Ashland's development is going to look like, what the downtown is going to look like for the future. Right now, those decisions are really being made by, I don't like to say special interest groups, but groups with interest in the area. The farmers market folks are happy the way Front Street's set up so they can have the farmers market and don't really want to interrupt that. The folks with the bank and businesses would like to see that happen the way they want it to happen. There's other folks that are sort of, even though Ashland is developing at a rapid rate and growing into quite a little town, there's folks that just want to sort of slow down development, and that's understandable too. But I would say that those are three disparate groups that just care about their interests, or care about their interests. Don't just care about,
right.
but
They care about theirs. So here's a question. You're on the downtown redevelopment group. Any public meetings coming up to get involvement and to ask people what they want to see downtown look like?
Well, there's been two fairly highly publicized public meetings about the Downtown Collaborative, what's going on with the medians, what's going to go on with signage. Right now, that group is working on signage only because that's the funding restriction, and that's been developed with input from the community. I will say that most of the folks that have come to those meetings are the same folks that come to those meetings, and that's moved along. I think, as John said, with this upcoming meeting with the ZBA and sort of over the summer and into the development of the town meeting for the fall, I think there'll be some more discussion about what the downtown area is going to look like, whether we're going to consciously try and invest some money into a town green and sort of formalize the way that the downtown area looks. So I think folks have to keep their eyes open. We'll be certain to let folks know when meetings are happening, but if you want downtown to look a certain way, it's time to get involved, because there's a path right now moving that it isn't going to look that way. So stay tuned. Keep checking in here with Round the Clock, and we thank you for tuning in. See you again soon.
See your sun cover shares some skin. Clouds are shrouding us in moments unforgettable. You twist to fit the mold that I've been. But things just get so crazy, living life gets harder too. And I would gladly hit the road, get up and go if I knew that
super kind. We are Girl Scouts!
Goods, door shuts, all your friends, they had your goods right inside.
Five, four, three, two, one. Action! Hi. Hi. That's a lot of water you're using. I know, and it costs a ton. My family helps save the environment and a little bit of money by using a water barrel. What's a water barrel?
We're here to talk to you about the water barrel. You put it under your downspout and it collects all the water when it rains.
It reduces the amount of water you use and lessens the impact on the environment. You can get these at the DPW in Ashland during the spring.
You can always save water by shutting off the water while brushing your teeth. You can even have a shower contest in your home to see who can take the fastest shower. You can even award a prize to the person who takes the shortest shower. How short can you make your shower? Another way to save water while taking a shower is to change the shower head to a water-saving shower head.
This commercial was brought to you by WACA-TV.
And Girl Scout Troop 72378. Okay, that's a wrap. We're all done.
My favorite flowers. Thank you. Mama, Drew asked me to come.
Officer Bradley, and I need to inform you that your daughter was in a bad car accident with an intoxicated driver and she didn't make it out. And I hate to break the news to you this way, but I need to let you know.